What's going on, everybody? Aidan from Birds vs. Boys here, and NFL teams are on the cusp of cutting down to their 53-man rosters. For the Eagles, they have a lot of decisions to make, especially on defense, and today, a new issue popped up for them in the form of Derek Barnett, and will he be on the team when we are cut down to the 53-man rosters? It came out that his agent is looking for a trade. So let's get into it. Do we think Derek Barnett will be traded? Do we think he'll be on the Eagles 53-man when they make the official cuts come Tuesday? Now, before we get into it, make sure to like this video and subscribe. More videos coming out this week. It's good to be back in football season. It's great for Kevin and I. We just fired off great interviews, a lot of football to talk about. And we're so close to talking about actual real football games starting next week. It's the perfect time to subscribe. So let's get into it. About less than an hour ago, Jeremy Fowler came out with the report that Derek Barnett's agent is shopping around to see if there is a trade partner for Barnett to look for more playing time. He would be the fifth defensive end on the Eagles if the season started today. They have Sweat, they have Hassan Reddick, they have Brandon Graham, and they drafted Nolan Smith. Barnett is not necessarily an odd man out, but he is the fifth wheel. So let's start here. From day one, literally, I have not been a fan of Derek Barnett. There's a reaction video of me from the draft that night live in Philadelphia when they took him, and I just looked utterly disgusted. Since then, it's been mostly, I think he's been more valuable than people presume. But the reason that people are so down on him is because the amount of just bonehead, what are you doing type of penalties that he presents on an almost weekly basis, to the point that your coach now was caught on camera saying it's always him after yet another penalty 2 years ago. Now, it was 2 years ago because this last season, he tore his ACL in week 1 against the Lions and didn't play again. So what is his value after all of these things? We really don't have a lot on him, and I don't know, when looking for trade partners, where the rest of the league values him. He's at a premier position at defensive end. He's had production there over the past few years, and he's still relatively young. He was drafted in 2017. So if you just look at it in a silo and you say, okay, a defensive end who's still in his 20s, who was drafted in 2017 and has been productive as a starter at points for a good Eagles team, that would probably get you some value. But if you expand your lens a little bit and you consider the personal foul penalties, the unsportsmanlike penalties, even the offsides penalties they have, pretty much all of the penalties that he has created that just want to make you want to pull your hair out and scream and end up in an insane asylum, Derek Barnett has been the villain when it comes to that. So you add that in, and then you add the fact that he did not play last year. And where is he at health-wise, production value, after coming off a torn ACL and being the fifth defensive end on this team? I think it decreases the trade value. This part, and I think this is the key, even after all of the penalties, all of the bonehead plays, and the massive injury, I think the biggest problem that Barnett and his agent is going to face when trying to find a trade partner, he is the fifth defensive end on this team. Teams are going, like, when you go to negotiations for that, people are like, all right, so you're trading like your fifth defensive end. It's not like we're trading Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, guys who are like starting, getting valuable time. I think his role on this team is diminished because of the talent at his position, and that is going to diminish his trade value when teams are looking. Now, again, like I said, defensive end is a premier position. People are always looking to add defensive ends to get after the quarterback. That's why they get paid so well. That's why there's been so many drafted in the top 10 this most recent year. And I just don't think that there is a lot of playing time for him here. And in this sense, for Barnett, I talk shit on him pretty much every year. I have hated him every single year. The one thing I will say, I will never knock a guy for wanting playing time and wanting to play the sport they love and wanting to be on the field. Any athlete, any competitor wants to play. Nobody wants like a split share. Nobody wants like a minutes restriction in other sports. Nobody wants to be a pinch hitter, right? So I totally get from Barnett and his agent's point of view, trying to find value elsewhere, somebody to get him more snap count on another team, since he would be the fifth defensive end here. But it's just really annoying that it's coming from him after the Eagles pretty much doubled down. Everybody was out on him, pretty much a 0% approval rating, as low as you could go among this fan base, among the own coaching staff, where they were caught on tape, disgusted with his penalties. And they doubled down. They brought him back after his 4 years were up. They gave him a contract, then restructured his contract so he could be back this year, to the point that it would be hard to release him because of that restructure. Then you'd still have to pay him. And after all that, now he wants to trade to play more elsewhere. I get wanting playing time, but really coming from you after getting about 1,000,001 chances from this franchise just sits with me the wrong way. And maybe I'm just biased because I've just been anti-Derek Barnett for quite some time, but it's just annoying. Like, they bent over backwards for a guy who they really didn't need to bend over backwards for. And at the end, he's like, well, I can play more elsewhere. So, all right, I'll see you guys later. It's just, the optics of it just really, really bother me. The fact that it's coming from Barnett, it just, it drives me insane. If it were like Josh Sweat, like a year or two ago before he was the starter on this team, I'd be like, okay, I get it. Like, he has serious potential and he's behind Brandon Graham or Hassan Reddick, whoever it may be. I would have understood that. He's blossomed since then. Derek Barnett is not. And it just drives me nuts that after all of this, and just like all these times that you thought he was going to be off the team because they were just going to be like, all right, no thanks. We're not going to re-sign you. We're not going to restructure your deal. This is going to be it. After all that, now he wants to trade. Unbelievable. I do think, and this is the last point I'll make on the Barnett thing, he has value to this team still. I don't think that he will get traded. One, because I don't know what his trade value is. Penalties, injuries, his spot in the rotation. But more so, I know he's the 5th defensive end. I know he's worried about snap counts, playing time, everything like that, wants to play more elsewhere. You look at it, though, the Eagles love to rotate through defensive ends as it is. Who are they relying on? Brandon Graham, who's 35. Josh Sweat, who used to be on a snap count because of his knee. Hassan Reddick, who's currently hurt and had thumb surgery. Nolan Smith, who had concerns. One, first of all, he's a rookie, so there's concerns. We've never seen him play a live game. I'm super high on him, but I don't know. His concern was he was undersized. He doesn't look that way, but after 3 preseason games, he already has a shoulder injury. So those are the 4 guys ahead of you, and they certainly give you opportunity to get more snaps because of injury history, age, everything like that. This is a position the Eagles care about. They care about the infrastructure in the lines. We talk about it on our show all the time. So for them to just give up Derek Barnett for nothing, when there's 4 guys ahead of him who all have a question mark in one form or the other, and they're just going to deplete their depth because he wants to play somewhere else, I really don't see that. It would have to be superb value, something in the middle rounds so they can stockpile. They've got 3 picks in the top 2 rounds this next year. If you added like a 4th round pick for Barnett, that I could see. Aside from that, I really don't see him getting traded. I'm sorry to Derek Barnett. Maybe I'm sorry to the fans as well, because it'd be another year of Barnett. But I'm interested to see. We talked about him on the show. I'm sure we would like to move off of him. Like if the Eagles could, they probably would. But I don't know what else they would do at defensive end. Patrick Johnson, I think they like at defensive end because of the special teams aspect and stuff like that. So there are guys there. Johnson as well was good in preseason. But again, even these guys who are fan favorites, Barnett, who is the least fan favorite, still has a lot more production in his resume than these 2 younger guys. So I don't think he will get traded. I think if you looked at it in a silo, I think you could get a middle round pick for him. I think because of everything that's happened with Barnett, and if you just look at the timeline with the injuries and the just unsportsmanlike penalties, it's going to be really tough to move him. And I think he'll inevitably end up back with the team, be that 5th defensive end, and then end up contributing somewhere along the line. If one of these guys gets hurt, they can plug Barnett in. And that's the beauty of having a talented team. The fact that you're worried about your 5th defensive end and how he will produce and everything like that. So it's good in the end for the Eagles. So I don't think he will get traded. I'm sorry to Barnett and his agent. I'm sorry to the fans who probably are sick of watching Barnett get in the middle of scrums, like hitting Anthony Richardson last week and starting a fight in training camp practice. Nothing changes. It's always him. It'll always be him that we are talking about. He is a lightning bolt for controversy. So we'll see what he produces this year. And I'm assuming it'll probably be in an Eagles uniform. We'll be back this week talking full Cowboys-Eagles wrap-up training camp preseason, start of the season. The roster will be set by the time we have our full show. Kevin and I can't wait to break it down with you all, and we'll talk to you then.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope. I'm going to drink bleach. That is
the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.